I don't know how many of y'all use Firefox, but they've been doing some things that I do not personally like. It started last year. Mozilla laying off 30% of its staff and dropping its advocacy division. This was November 5th of last year. So Mozilla said that the nonprofit arm of Firefox browser maker said it would lay off 30% of its employees. This was something like 40 people. There are not a lot of people that work at Mozilla. However, this was still kind of a big deal. I was like, man, what are they doing? What are they doing over there? Despite this, they said that advocacy is still a central tenet of the Mozilla Foundation's work and will be embedded in all functional areas without providing specifics. Which actually, I think that this is a sort of a microcosm of what my problem with Firefox is recently. Advocacy is still a central tenet of Mozilla's Foundation's work and will be embedded in all other functional areas without providing specifics. Our mission at Mozilla is more high stakes than ever. They say this a lot too. We find ourselves in a relentless onslaught of change, and the idea of putting people before profit feels increasingly radical, which, like, fair enough, but it would seem as though they are starting to put profit above people. Or at the very least, they don't know what they're doing. A couple months later, so March of this year, Mozilla updated their terms of service. For a very long time, plastered all over Firefox's website was this idea of like, we will not sell your data to anybody, we promise. And then late in February of this year, they decided to make some changes to their wording. So they completely took out the part about how they would no longer sell your user data to advertisers, and instead they replaced it with, when you upload or input information through Firefox, you hereby grant us a non-exclusive, royalty-free, worldwide license to use that information to help you navigate, experience, and interact with online content as you indicate with your use of Firefox. This was very broad. People had questions, and Firefox did not answer those questions. Instead, they just revised those terms and said, you give Mozilla the rights necessary to operate Firefox. This includes processing your data as we describe in our privacy notice. It also includes a non-exclusive, royalty-free, worldwide license for the purpose of doing as you request with the content you input in Firefox. This does not give Mozilla any ownership in that content. So they clarified the language without really clarifying the language. And so this I think turned a lot of people off. And there was a big, earlier this year, there was a lot of heat around getting rid of Firefox because of this specifically. Because, like, this is a big change, right? Mozilla and Firefox have always been these sort of stark advocates for privacy and for responsible use of user data. And so for them to be making these sort of subtle changes behind the scenes makes me very nervous, I think. Pushback against Mozilla terms of service followed Google's new ad tracking policy, which is another big piece of drama. The ads platform program policies, which went live on February 16th, 2025, allow the use of IP addresses to fingerprint users and reach them across platforms without the need to re-identify them. The UK Information Commissioner's Office has called it an irresponsible change. Organizations seeking to deploy fingerprinting techniques for advertising will need to demonstrate how they are complying with the requirements of data protection law, the ICO said. So Firefox was in a lot of heat at the beginning of this year, and they weren't doing themselves any favors. They've made yet another change. I don't know if this is the straw that breaks the camel's back for me, just because I love Firefox and I've been using it forever, but I very heavily disagree with this. Mozilla has appointed a new CEO and has said that their new CEO, the future of Mozilla, is building an AI browser. They've appointed Anthony Enzor Demio, Mozilla's next chapter. Today, I step into the role of CEO of Mozilla Corporation. As Mozilla moves forward, we focus on becoming the trusted software company. This is not a slogan. It is a direction that guides how we build and how we grow. It means three things. So these are the three guiding principles that Mozilla will carry on with their brand new CEO. First, every product we build must give people agency in how it works. Privacy, data use, and AI must be clear and understandable. Controls will be simple. AI should always be a choice, something people can easily turn off. People should know why a feature works the way it does and what value they get from it. This sounds very good on its face. The problem is, earlier this year, we see these commitments that Firefox makes to user privacy and responsible use of data, and then we see them quietly change these things in the background. And so this does not inspire confidence in me that, like, Firefox wants to say, oh, we're going to have all these great AI features in the future, and we're always going to give people a choice. We're never going to, force AI on anything, but we're still going to use it quite heavily. And so I think the first couple of months of the year and last year, the changes that Firefox have made to their platform and to their company in general, it just doesn't inspire confidence. Second, our business model must align with trust. We will grow through transparent monetization that people recognize and value. This is going to be interesting, but I don't know why one of the core tenets of a nonprofit would be to grow through transparent monetization that people recognize and value. That seems like a bit of a weird... Could you imagine, like, if the Red Cross was like, yeah, our second pillar is that we think that we should monetize responsibly. It'd be like, all right, I don't know about that one, Chief. But third, Firefox will grow from a browser into a broader ecosystem of trusted trusted software. Firefox will remain our anchor. It will evolve into a modern AI browser and support a portfolio of new and trusted software additions. We're getting another ecosystem. We're getting the Mozilla ecosystem. Google obviously did this. And so obviously Google isn't the most responsible with data, with Gemini and all that. As a sort of response to Google's ecosystem, another company by the name of Proton. If you read through Proton, you sort of get a Mozilla feeling. Proton is another company that has very much so been around for a very long time. It's very good. They make very good products. So Proton's big thing is like privacy by default. A better internet starts with privacy and freedom. As a result of Google's sort of mishandling of people's data, Proton has created their own ecosystem. In addition to Proton Mail, which was sort of the big thing for many years, you had Proton Mail. Now you also have Proton Docs, Proton Drive, and Proton Sheets, much like the Google ecosystem. So like all of this is free. You can use it. And so it seems as though, at least from my reading of this, that Mozilla might be trying to do the same thing. Mozilla has obviously been this like privacy, data privacy sort of company for a very long time, and a free and open internet. Proton has also been this, but Mozilla slipping, I think, in this particular area, where Proton has remained very steady, very rock solid. Earlier this year, I tried a different browser. There was another browser that came along that I thought was a really good browser, and so I actually switched entirely to it for the beginning of this year. This was called Arc. Arc has some sort of unique intricacies that I think make it an interesting browser. Arc was supposed to be this sort of competitor to a lot of the big browsers. Arc got a lot of users because like it's a clean setup. It's very light. It was only on Mac for a very long time, and it recently just came to Windows. The problem is, I don't know if this was a deal with just like they just weren't making money off of this browser, but the browser company announced that Arc was not going to be, the development of Arc was no longer going to be supported. They literally said, we're just not going to keep building this browser. Well, why did they do this? Arc basically said that they were no longer going to develop Arc because they wanted to develop a fully AI browser. And that is what Dia is. Basically, it's a browser that looks like every other browser on the planet, except it has AI built in to every single facet of what you could possibly use a browser for. Arc said, hey, here's a competitor in the space. Download our browser. And it was actually like kind of a good thing, kind of a cool browser, maybe a decent competitor in the future to Firefox at least. And then they completely abandoned it because they also want to go for an AI browser. I don't know. I found out about Mozilla's new CEO appointment on Twitter, and underneath that tweet was this video.
It's not AI.
And that's about it. So this is for a browser called Vivaldi browser, which I had never heard of before. What a great introduction to your browser. Guys, you know what we're doing? We're not doing AI. That's about it. And so I think that's a real selling point for me. They have their own email. They have their own browser. Wow. Automotive? What do you mean automotive? The browser in your car? What? Vivaldi for Android Automotive OS is a full-scale web browser with advanced tab management, streamability, and top security measures. I've never seen such a thing before. Lamborghini! What a wacky and wild world we live in. Yeah, I think Mozilla has been doing some things that I do not like. I might be switching away from them forever, unless Mozilla sort of gets their act together. I don't even really care that they're implementing AI into their browser. It's just like, I think Mozilla has eroded the trust of a lot of their users over the last couple of years, just with these sort of like stupid changes where they're slowly rewording things, or they're like firing their staff in kind of weird ways. So I think it's incumbent on Mozilla to rebuild the trust of their users. And until then, I think it might be worth looking into alternatives to Firefox.